Sony fails to kill $7.9 billion lawsuit over PlayStation Store prices. The lawsuit accuses the PS5 maker of ripping players off. A lawsuit filed last year accused Sony of using its Wallet Garden video game platform to charge players too much in the PlayStation Store. The London tribunal has now allowed that lawsuit to move forward against the PS5's maker's objections, which could result in payments to players in the UK of up to $7.9 billion if it's ultimately successful. The case began last August and basically claimed that anti-competitive practices by Sony allowed it to get away with charging a 30% commission on all sales in the PlayStation Store rather than charging a smaller amount and passing the savings on to consumers. Sony tried to get the case dismissed, but today the Competition Appeal Tribunal sided against the platform holder, saying it failed to establish that the complaint had no reasonable grounds for making the claims, no real prospect of succeeding a trial. This case, brought by the consumer advocate Alex Neal, will now proceed with the two sides arguing on its merits. To be clear, Sony isn't accused of doing anything unusual here, like manipulating prices and people. What the lawsuit is taking issue with is the same thing every modern gaming platform does, charging fees while blocking out competition. The lawsuit claims that by failing to allow third parties to sell directly on the PlayStation Store, it's limiting competition and driving up prices for players. We've heard a version of these complaints in the U.S. with the Epic versus Apple lawsuit and the current Epic versus Google court trial. The Fortnite company accused the App Store and Google Play Store of charging exorbitant commissions to anyone else who wants to do business on the platforms. Imagine the potential issues, for instance, if your PC could only install Steam and Valve Storefront was the only way to access games on it. Those arguments haven't fared so well so far in the U.S. We'll see if the Sony lawsuit in the UK goes any differently. So what do you think of this lawsuit? Are you surprised that it's heading to court? Do you care at all?
Well, I would say it sounds like being very cruel to Sony, but it serves them right because I've been hearing for not literally decades, but in recent time, Sony's been very shady with deals going on with different partners and game companies and other corporate entities for a good 20, 30 years almost. So it catched up to them after all these years and decades now. So now they have to pay the price with them being, anti-consumer or anti-business or very a cutthroat or a backstab with their other partners and entities that they work with. So more power to the consumer now, because now if they can put this lawsuit into play, Sony has to make sure to pay back customers, if it is related, that is, to pay back the customers for all the shady deals that's going on for this year and all with deleted stuff from the library of their storefronts online and all. So if they could try to put that into play over the next few months, hopefully by 2 years from now at the most, Sony has to pay back people their deleted content that they delete off the storefront. So if it's related, that is, to his lawsuit, hopefully that is.
Yeah. So so that's and this is really a problem with an all digital future. I don't know if I agree with Review Tech USA. He said it's already here. I don't think it's here yet. At least not completely.
Yeah.
But that's the problem with an all-digital future. If you want to buy games for PlayStation or Xbox or Switch, and digital is the only way to do it, these storefronts are the only stores that, if these digital stores are the only way to get games, they can charge basically almost whatever they want.
Oh yeah.
And that's going to be a problem. You think $70 games are bad? Wait till Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft gets to determine the prices what they sell it for on their consoles.
Definitely.
This might be a wrinkle in that plan if it's successful. But yeah, they were charging exorbitant fees to anyone else who wanted to sell on the PlayStation Store. So, maybe it's a good thing, but this is also a problem. Should gaming become entirely digital in 5 or 10 years?
hopefully it will be be a lot longer than 10 years for it to be completely transferable to digital only. Because I really like to still have physical media whenever I can. Because one day I do
Yeah.
want to go back to my games that I haven't played in decades or years, of this technology in today's world, for the Xbox One, for the Xbox 360, and so on and so forth, maybe for PS3 and PS4. Because,
Well,
yeah,
not so much PS4 and Xbox One, because even if it's digital, it's keep in mind it's like the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 example, how the disc just had the Park editor, and you had to download the entire game, even if you bought it physically. But like games, like I'd say PS3, 360, Wii U, and anything further back, especially further back, it's that's going to be what you'd probably going to want to do if you want to get games that you haven't played, that you never tried out before. That's going to that you never got to try out before. That you won't have to worry about getting the updates for the game to be operational, because once the game servers are down, they're down,
yeah,
or taken offline for good. They're not coming back. And if you don't have the game in its full form up with updates by the time those servers go down, you're screwed. I mean, that's what they're doing with the WWE games now. WWE games aren't even online for 2 full years after release,
yeah. Say with
which is
sports games as
ridiculous.
well too, with NHL and NFL and NBA, like every year, and not even 2 years later, from the F to be just a cycle. Each game, like I said, lasts for 2 years, 3 years at the most. Online, that is. So
Yeah, so I mean, and then that's the thing, it should be where like, so like if you're gonna, that's gonna be a problem, because like, say 5-10 years from now, anyone who gets a PS4 or original Xbox One, if they get a game like a sports game, that update might not be there, and the game might not be playable with that without that update.
yeah,
So that's again another reason I'm going to go back to retro in 2024. I'm still going to be playing games on my Xbox One, Middle Earth, Shadow War, and Yakuza Like a Dragon when I get copies of those games. I actually forgot about Shadow War before I read about it. But yeah, other than that, I'm gonna go back to retro, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, all the way up to PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube, and even Wii U, because the Wii U plays Wii and Wii U games.
yeah,
Um, before they started saying release it now, we'll patch it later.
mm-hmm.